great good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful but a little chilly Thursday, January 22nd, year of our Lord 2026. My Cordaro Jewelers watch tells me that it's 9:13. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, broadcasting today from the United States of America, the place where the brave, like the veterans we will salute today, have made us free. The United States of America, founded with a certain knowledge and understanding by our incredible founding fathers, that government is not, shall not be, cannot be our parent, our guide, our direction, our salvation. Not any of these things, but is nothing more than a necessary evil we require to organize and protect society. The United States of America, the country where for the first time in human history, freedom was declared to be an unalienable right granted to each individual by God. Freedom wasn't to be parceled out to groups. It couldn't be controlled by government or government officials because our great American Constitution ensures and codifies freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, economic freedom, and yes, freedom of the press, no matter how they use and abuse it. Now, armed with these freedoms, and only because we had them, a ragtag bunch of immigrants, rejects, and their progeny created the richest, most powerful, most culturally diverse and accepting nation ever to grace our planet Earth. America, the only place specifically invented and designed so that every American can live their life in the manner they choose. Unlimited by their background, upbringing, race, color, or creed. Unhindered by the government or those who would use government to control others for their own comfort, benefit, or power. This Bob Cordaro Show, well, it'll always be convincingly conservative, lovingly logical, proudly and passionately patriotic, and reliably right. And so, we gavel to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that because of our commitment to common sense, we will provide a sanctuary of sanity for all of you in a world that's gone insane, in a Democrat Party that is insane. We played you Jessica Rothschild yesterday. Really, there's something wrong with these people. And yesterday, this ass, it's unbelievable. This complete fool, Bill Gaughan, who's Lackawanna County Commissioner, who's on the outs because he's an ass. He's actually in the majority party on the board of commissioners. He's such a complete fool that nobody will work with him. Now, is he working for the people of Lackawanna County? No. He's carrying on with these screeds, and we'll play it for you next hour, about how is Lackawanna County working with ICE. Well, number one, stupid. This is how stupid he is. Seriously. And this is how attention-seeking he is. This is how virtue signaling this fool is. He's asking, what are we doing in the county sheriffs don't even have arrest powers off of the grounds of Lackawanna County property. That's number one. And he's asking, what do we do to protect immigrants? Oh, illegal immigrants? What do we do to pay? He doesn't. I want you to know this. Jessica Rothschild and Bill Gaughan and Mayor Cognetti, they don't care about you. They don't care. They care about their lunatic agenda, their stupidity, and that's it. That's all they care about. They don't care about you. You're an American citizen. You're here legally. And you might not even be an American citizen. They don't care about you. They care about illegal aliens above and beyond. Now, I saw this. I don't normally look at Facebook. Well, I do. I look at it regularly, but it's not a thing I would do before the show. And this very good posting, a friend of mine did. I think he's repeating something that was written, but it really hits it all down. It says, we've got people literally camping in the streets, crying, lighting candles, holding signs, getting arrested, doing the most for people who broke into this country illegally. But when it comes to American veterans sleeping under the bridges, suddenly there's not even a thought. Has Gahan ever gone under the bridges along the trail in Scranton to care for Americans or to find out what he could do to help? No. Has Mayor Cognetti done it? No. Has Jessica Rothschild done it? No. They don't care. It continues. You all shut down traffic for someone who hopped the fence but won't block a single street for the Marine who hopped on a grenade and came home invisible. And you weirdo politicians love to say we don't have the money, but somehow there's always enough money for people who aren't citizens. That's not a lack of funds, that's a choice. Fix our house first. Honor the people who built and defended it, then we can talk about having guests over. Until that happens, don't talk to me about compassion. These people are mentally ill is the problem. They're literally, Bill Gahan is mentally ill. I've said it before. He's got a real problem. And the rumor is he's trying to get an off-ramp for commissioner because not only could he not get reelected, but he is worth zero on that body right now because nobody's listening to his idiocy. But the sad part and the scary part is the off-ramp is in educating our children to be a principal or something somewhere. Well, woe to the body that hires this ass. Woe to that body. He's a disgrace. He's stupid. He's a liar. He's a hypocrite. He's done nothing for the people of Lackawanna County. Oh, yeah, he did jack your taxes up twice. Yes, that he did. For nothing. Tell me what better services we got. Unbelievable. Somebody texts in, you're right. They don't care, but people will keep voting them in. I know it. I know it. All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We're going to be back. Lots to deal with today. I don't know where Murph finds these songs. It's amazing. That's not a bad one. Murph says this date, 1959, before heading to the Winter Dance Party Tour, Buddy Holly laid down tracks for his Slippin' and Sliding. Sadly, it would be his last recordings. And before that, the 1973 Roe versus Wade. What a sickening disgrace of a decision. Legalized abortions using a trimester approach. I will tell you as a lawyer, and I don't even care where you come down on the opinion, because no less than Ruth Bader Ginsburg agreed with me. The decision was made and the opinion was written because they decided on the result and had no law or logic to back it up. On absolutely horrible decisions. Absolutely horrible decision. And it was rightly overturned by the Dobbs case, Dobbs, Mississippi, in Trump's first term. It was just a horrible decision legally. And 64 million souls have been lost. 64 million. Please imagine that Holocaust. I don't care what side you're on. This should have an impact on you. You should be saying, oh my God. 64 million people never born. Killed in the womb. And that's what it was. You kill a living being. Wow. So this is a banner bad day for America. And I got to tell you, and I would not reserve judgment, but if the Supreme Court justices who voted for Roe versus Wade, I hope they've begged forgiveness of God. Somebody texts in, Bob, I'm a resident of Luzerne County, but I saw your commissioner gone on the news and heard what he said, and I had to turn off the news. What a disillusioned and stupid man. You people of Lackawanna County should be outraged. He says he's worried about immigrants, but I think he's counting on you all being ill-informed, and he just spews info he thinks sounds cutting edge and hopes you all swallow it. Wake up, Lackawanna. LTS, Bob, keep strong. You nailed it. You nailed it completely. Someone else texts in, Gaunt seems to be catering to some radical left leadership in hopes of getting some position elsewhere. That's exactamundo. Because he should be finished in Northeast PA, the listener continues. Except if Page wins. Hence, Billy fought so hard for the commissioner appointment, hoping to benefit as her replacement. Unbelievable. Somebody says, Bob, did you forget you are no longer a lawyer? I am a lawyer. When you're a lawyer, I graduated at the University of Pennsylvania Law School in 1986. I've been a lawyer ever since. I do not practice now. Because of my conviction, I'm not allowed to. That doesn't I'm not a lawyer, so let's be accurate. And by the way, what does that matter? Does that mean I can't give an opinion on a legal decision? And by the way, I invite you to read it and tell me if it makes any sense. As a non-lawyer, I invite you to read it, Roe versus Wade, and see what a disgrace and stain it is. Somebody corrects me, and I'm happy you did. 64 million children have been killed because of abortion. 64 million. Just let that sink in. And disgraceful, disgusting human beings like Gahan and Paige Cognetti and Jessica Rothschild, name your other leftists, they want abortion after birth. Oh, no, that didn't come out right. Let's get rid of that. That's what they support. Unreal. Our friend, one of my friends on the show, he says, dog face pony soldier troll of the day. We should go back to that. We should go back to that. I know. All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We're going to hear from our great sponsors, and then we've got a veterans tribute, the weather, we've got David DeCosmo, and then more, because it is another sad anniversary that he'll talk to us about. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Our veterans, this hour and every hour, this day and every day, brought to you by our man, John Basiliga, and his great Basiliga Hospitality Group. It's the weekend, baby. Old Brook Inn, 307 Springbrook Township. Check it out. 2 different bars, dining. It's fabulous. The Far Street Tavern, the reimagined neighborhood institution in the Great Trips Park section of West Scranton. Queen City Tavern, downtown Oliphant. You go to any one of these 3 and you'll say, wow, how nice is this? Fine dining? Yeah, we got it. Terra 519, downtown Scranton. The Stegmeyer Mansion, downtown Wilkes-Barre. An old world take. Sergei's, the nightclub. It'll be hopping all weekend. This nonsense about the snow, please. And guess what? You want to check out a movie, first run movie? The best place to see a movie, Scranton Art House, downtown Scranton. Lights up the whole Lackawanna Avenue. Ronald Dubiak. He was 78 when we lost him January 4th. He was from Scranton. Born in that city, he attended the great Scranton Technical High School. and proudly served us in the United States Marine Corps. His obituary picture is proudly in that beautiful dress uniform of the United States Marines. Ronnie's passion was helping others fix anything that needed to be fixed. He was a kind person and made friends wherever he went. He comes from a big family that loved and appreciated him so much. Brothers, sisters, cousins, nieces, nephews, great-nieces and great-nephews all survive and remember Ronnie Dubiak. Kenneth Sutton. He was known as Kenny. We lost him last year, December 26th. He was 89. Kenny, as he was affectionately known, was born in Lehman, PA. A graduate of Lehman High School, class of 1954. He proudly remembers being on the football team when they beat Dallas in 1953 for the first time, winning the game for the old shoe trophy. Oh, that is fantastic. The old Thanksgiving games. Shortly after graduation, Kenny met his beloved wife, Judith, who preceded him in death back in 2017. Also following his graduation, he joined the military and became a very proud Army veteran. He was married twice, a truly whirlwind year. First to the love of his life, and then to his country. Kenny was sent to Germany. He was in Holland. Loved to tell about his experiences with howitzer guns and all the fascinating things he saw and did while abroad. His wife, Judith, recounted visiting him in Germany while he served. Upon his discharge from the Army, he continued to serve. He worked as a prison guard at SCI Dallas and then was a school bus driver for many years, always keeping his children safe and getting them home. Kenny was a USAC mechanic and worked the pits at Pocono Raceway. Loved going to breakfast mornings at the Skillet. Loved meeting all his friends there. Up until 2 months before his passing, he went to Lancaster, bringing back apple bread and stuffed pork chops from the Amish. He was a fiercely and stubbornly independent character. Survived by his daughter of Dallas, his son of Harvey's Lake, his brother, nieces, nephews, and other family members. Kenny Sutton, winner of the old shoe trophy. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and Basiliga Hospitality. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Anthony Bordenaro, brought to you by our friends at Montage Mountain. And I'm telling you what, they're waiting for the snow. They're excited about it. Today, morning snow showers, some sun this afternoon, a milder high near 40. An amazing day to ski or to get up to Montage. Tonight, partly cloudy and breezy, low 20. 36 out the side of the studio right now. Friday, partly sunny and windy with a few snow showers, high 30. Saturday, morning sun, then increasing clouds and much colder, down to 12. Sunday, snow, heavy at times, continuing into Monday, high 14. That's your weather, brought to you by our gang at Montage Mountain. His we go right from Little Peggy March. She was only 14 when she cut that song. What a great one. I will follow him. Love it. And we go right to the March of the Cue Balls. Henry Mancini, because That means David DeCosmo's with us. And even though our guy is traveling, he dutifully reports another big anniversary that we should all remember. David, welcome to the program once again.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, Bob. Yeah, 67 years ago on this very day, a dozen miners and an industry died. And that was because of what has become known as the Knox coal mine disaster. January 22nd, 1959, miners working in the river slope, basically in the Pittston area, Bob. They're working in a mine tunnel that is not only going underground, it is going underground, which is under the Susquehanna River. Now, generally speaking, mines like that were very acceptable as long as they kept 50 feet of rock above the mine to the bottom of the water they were tunneling under. Well, in the Knox mine, they got an okay to make that a little less, supposed to be about 35 feet. Turns out it was about 5, Bob. And the river, clogged with ice, broke into the mine. And the Susquehanna River and that area looked like a bathtub that you had just pulled out the plug, and there was a giant whirlpool. Well, there's miners in there. They're rushing to get out. Now, when I'm talking about Knox, I always remind everybody, I didn't actually cover it. I was just starting in radio in 1959, and it wasn't until later that year, as a matter of fact.
Well, you were busy covering the passage of the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah, just a little bit beyond that. But fortunately, over the years, primarily with Channel 22, I got to interview one of the heroes of that day, and usually we did it on the anniversary of the disaster. I interviewed a gentleman named Pacifico Joe Stella. And now Joe wasn't a mine worker in that Knox mine. He was a surveyor who coincidentally had told them he thought they were working way too close to the river bottom. And his knowledge of that underground passage enabled him to lead about 33 miners to an old air shaft. Now, as a matter of fact, another gentleman who was in that mine actually received the Carnegie Medal for his heroism. He actually got to that air shaft, and his Medico Pencati, he actually got to the air shaft, found it clogged with rocks, and started to dig away at the rocks. Joe Stella went back to get some of the older guys who couldn't get out as fast and make sure he led them. Remember, you're in a dark mine now. You have your miner's helmet lamp. That's all that you're seeing.
David, I often tell people you got to go on the Lackawanna County coal mine tour, and for about 2 minutes, they'll turn the lights out so that you see what the actual miners experienced.
Absolutely. I've done that. That tour is fantastic. You learn a lot about just what it's like, the obstacles you have to work with, etc. That hole in the river kept pouring water into the mine and then went from one mine into another. They dumped 40 railroad hopper cars in. They dumped about 400 mining cars, the smaller cars you'd use to haul coal in there. They dumped dirt. There's a little island off of
David, they actually created a rail line to the site of the disaster.
Yeah, well, there was a rail line nearby. What they did was they built a switch track and switched the rails right over to the edge and rolled the cars in. Now, eventually, what they had to do, there was a little island right off of this area. They built what they call a cofferdam. So they diverted the river around this little island and actually emptied this one area of water, pumped and pumped and pumped water out. They went into the mine, but never could find the men that were lost that day. The bodies were never retrieved. And, it not only did it result in the horrible death of those dozen miners, but it also flooded mines throughout the area, throughout Wyoming Valley, and it was cost prohibitive to keep pumping them out to mine coal. And so there's, 100 years or more worth of coal under the area,
Hmm.
and you couldn't get to it. There's another thing that people often don't think about, a long lasting result of this. When the water filled in underneath the earth, well, the water table changes. When we have droughts, it's lower. When we have heavy rains, it's higher. Well, when we have droughts and it's lower, the water has helped hold the earth up. And when the water declines, you get subsidence.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've got your backyard caving in somewhere.
Yeah.
So that was a major problem for many years, especially up in the Ashley area, which is quite some distance from the Knox mine. There were legal proceedings, Bob. They arrested the owners of the Knox Coal Company. They arrested a union representative, a miners' representative who had a vested interest. He had some ownership of the mine. There were a couple of prosecutions that resulted in convictions, all of which were overturned. So no one ever went to jail or paid any fines because of that disaster, which basically killed not only a dozen men, but the anthracite coal industry in Wyoming Valley.
Amazing.
Yeah.
David, I can't even express what you add to this show, and I know you're traveling as we speak.
I'm in Florida right now. We came down to, my wife is one of 8. She lost her older brother 1 year ago, and the other 7 were getting together down here.
Oh,
So
nice.
I'm the tag along guy, and we're
Nice.
coming back 2 days late thanks to the snow.
Well, David DeCosmo, the Knox mine disaster needs to be remembered, and I thank you for bringing it to us again this year.
Thank you, Bob, and I hope, as always, all your news is good.
The great David DeCosmo. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Murph tells us this date, 1966, the Beach Boys started recording their hit Wouldn't It Be Nice at Gold Star Studios, Hollywood, California. And before that, R. Bud Dwyer, you may not have recognized the name. I'll never forget the horror of this. So 1987, he gets convicted. He was proclaiming his innocence at a news conference. Normal and I thought compelling. He pulled out a gun that looked like something you would see in a circus. It was so huge. It was like the kind that Clint Eastwood used in his Dirty Harry movies. And he put it in his mouth and he shot himself live on TV. R. Bud Dwyer. It was really quite something. And to be remembered. So a lot of things happening on this date in Pennsylvania and elsewhere. Somebody texted this a good one. Hey, Bob, let's talk about global warming. I know. Where did it go? Do you notice this, please? Now, the world was going to end. This is the sickos. This is the left. The world was going to end. Have you heard any of them? And the same thing happening in Davos. Thank you for reminding me. Nothing. Nothing. They've gotten to the next issue. What's the next issue? To destroy the left and mesmerize the fools who will then follow us. The Bill Gahns of the world, the Jessica Rothschilds, the Paige Cognettis of the world. How do we get them to regurgitate what we believe? Where did global warming go? Where did it go? Oh, Lord. Believe me, the phoniness, the hypocrisy, the lies of the left and today's Democrat Party are off the charts. Every once in a while, we'll just bring that up. What happened to global warming? Well, first of all, you're one step behind because global warming wasn't working as a catchphrase, so they changed it to climate change because the climate's ever changing. So they'll figure, well, we'll look right. We'll look like we're correct. By the way, Howard Lutnick, the cabinet member from the Trump administration, he's over speaking at a panel in Davos. And some fool shouts him out. It turned out to be Al Gore, the father of climate change. Al Gore reduced. This is these idiots. Al Gore made himself a multi-millionaire on his green scam. And he's now reduced to catcalling at Davos. How appropriate. Dear Lord. Believe me, all of these idiots need to be placed in a box and ignored. My Picardo Jewelers watch tells me, though, it's 10 o'clock on the nose, and if you want to watch. But by the way, don't forget about Picardo's because Valentine's Day is coming, and she's expecting something. You know that. Stop being silly. And maybe get something for yourself, like a Raymond Weil, a Breitling, Oris, Longines, Michelle, Shinola, Luminox, Swiss Army, Seiko, Tory Burch, Victorinox, Boulevard G-Shock. It is the watch store in addition to being the best jewelry store. It just is. We'll take a break and be back after the news. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Unreal. Great good morning, everyone. My Bacardo Jewelers watch tells me it's 10:06 a.m. here in the great Northeast. This beautiful Thursday, January 22nd, year of our Lord, 2026. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and with the help of our man, John Basiliga, and his great Basiliga Hospitality Group, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like Kenneth Sutton. He was from Lehman. Ronald Dubiak, Scranton. Raymond Wazalewski, Wilkes-Barre. Harold Potosky, Shickshinny. Frank Moran, Scranton. And Jack Sharbaugh, the White Bear section of Summit Hill. Veterans we lost last year and this, but celebrate today thanks to John. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle against fools like Bill Gaughan and gavel back to order this meeting of the commitment of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that our commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity with asses like that surrounding us. Somebody thinks that speaking of climate change, didn't Kamala just buy an $8 million house on the beach in Malibu? I'm telling you, if you're not a liar and a hypocrite, you can't support the Democrat Party. It's really sad because either that or I'm just not going to think about it. I'm just going to vote Democrat. I hate Trump or whatever. It's unbelievable. Somebody asked, but was Bud Dwyer actually guilty? I don't know. He made a compelling case that he was not. Listen, I went to trial, and you put, for good or ill, it's just the bias of people, you put an elected official in the dock, 99 times out of 100, they're going to be found guilty no matter what. Cabinet guy remembers the 357 Magnum. Yep. Somebody says the media reported the other day that things are getting warmer. Their evidence was 2023 and 2024, as well as 2025, which was cooler than the two previous years. I know. Remember this. It's like anything else. Follow the money. The establishment and the funders of climate research only fund global warming or climate change people. They don't fund somebody telling the truth or getting to the bottom of things. Yeah, the world may end someday, and it could be soon, it could be tomorrow. There's 9,000 things that could happen. Just don't believe and don't take your science from AOC and Al Gore. My God. Unbelievable. Somebody takes it, Bob, the amount of lost little lives stunned me, 64 million. Oh, my Lord, what have we become? How truly sad abortion is. I know there are some circumstances that perhaps God will forgive, but to just use it as birth control is a sin, LTS. LTS back at you, and you captured perfectly where we are. Somebody said, I don't think people voted for Billy to cut 5-minute promos from that chair. It's unrelated to his function. Billy, conjunction, junction, what's your malfunction? And he's an idiot. Somebody says, get that idiot Gaughan recording off the air. It's disgusting enough without having you broadcast his gibberish and rambling garbage, trying to stir hatred in those he pretends to protect. Somebody said, I wonder, does Commissioner Gaughan have to read directions on toilet paper each time before use? Like Senator Kennedy said about AOC, he's one of the reasons they still have the instructions on hair shampoo. Somebody says, Bob, no more Springsteen, please. Murph has done that already, even without me suggesting. We've had enough of that ass. Another idiot. Unreal. It's amazing. Paul from Larksville says, remember when Time Magazine had a front page saying we were entering a new ice age? Yeah. Well, all this talk about weather and all those kinds of things brings us to one of our favorite, I got to say, because I love Joe Snedeker too, but one of our favorite meteorologists, and that is our man, Mark Margavage. Mark, how are you? Great to have you back. How you doing?
Okay, well, I'm his father. I'm not the meteorologist.
Oh, okay. I thought when the subject was water table and data, I thought, oh, this might be our guy. But you're
okay,
our guy. You're our guy too, Mr. Margavage.
All right. Anyway, LTS. What I want to get back to what David DeCosmo was talking about before.
Yeah.
And a little background. My grandfather was a motorman in the Woodward Colliery in Edwardsville. And he used to tell me stories about how the mines were robbed because he was going to be a mine boss. And when he got to Prince, he went down to the mines and measuring everything out like a surveyor would. He says, well, where are all these things? And they're supposed to be here. And when he asked the other boss and he said, listen, you want to keep your job, you'll keep your mouth shut. So, he was going to mine boss school at the time. Well, then 59 came with the Knox mine disaster, and that was the end of that. But to make a long story short, there used to be subsidences in Edwardsville quite often on Hillside Ave, Cherry Street, Garfield Street. And the mines would send, this was before there was even water in the mines, they would send crews out to jack these houses up to re-level them. And, when you're getting now, when you have a water table in the mines with this water holding everything up, and you get a drought, naturally you're going to have subsidences. But now these AI data centers want to come in and take so much of the water, and they're talking about taking it out of the river. Now, what kind of downside do you think we have here if they're going to be taking millions of gallons of water out of the river? You think we're going to have an abundance of subsidences?
We could have a lot of issues. The mine water. I said this about the data centers. If they use the mine water, we've got over 30 billion gallons beneath us, and they create their own power plant, that would be okay by me. Beyond that, no. That's my view on it.
I still think the water, how much they're going to take out of there, is going to affect the subsidence above ground.
If now, and here's it's not really a technical argument, but if you did pump and dump, meaning you pumped it up, used it, dumped it back in, there'd be less potential for damage.
Yeah, well, that's if they do that.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, and we've got to watch very closely what the processes are for each of these projects, and because they could be disruptive to our water supply. You mentioned subsidence, another issue I hadn't even thought of, and very disruptive to our electricity supply.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Everybody will have to be buying Generacs, I guess.
Yeah, I get it. Thank you, Mr. Margavage. Mark
Margavage. Have a good day.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. A lot of issues, and you got to look at them. You have to look at them. Again, the position subject to change. If a data center proposal, and I don't see the economic benefit, by the way. You're going to take up for maybe 1 million square feet, instead of maybe thousands of jobs in, say, a distribution center or a manufacturing facility, you're talking about maybe 40, maybe 50. There's only so many places you could locate a facility of that size. And if they don't have and don't generate, by the way, their own power, and if they don't use water that is not part of our drinking supply, I'm not interested. That's where I come down on this. By the way, and got reminded this by a text on Club for Common Sense. everyone was pulling their hair out. And I've got to say, I had a moment of consternation when Trump was talking about tariffs and military action, all this over Greenland. Well, he was right again. And right now, NATO and Europe are all in on the United States having control over whatever we need to control to use Greenland for geopolitical purposes, geostrategic purposes. And they'll pull their hair out and they'll move on to the next issue and they'll move on to the next and the next after you find out they were lying to you on the first issue. I told you that it was a strategy, a negotiating strategy, and it turns out to be a successful one. You'll see. Stop listening to the fools. Please stop listening to the fools, because guess who's listening to the big fools, the little fools like Bill Gaughan, like Jessica Rothschild, like Paige Cognetti. They're listening. They're following. They're regurgitating. And they're wrong. By the way, right now, a hearing on former special counsel Jack Smith. That's the slime ball who has been thrown out of court repeatedly for being unethical, but they sicked him on Trump to no avail. And the Congress wants to know, at least the Republicans, Democrats don't. Republicans want to know, what did you do and why did you do it? Fascinating. Somebody texts in, data center being built by the Berwick nuke plant. They've got their own power. No problem. The issue now, then, number two, where are they getting their water? How are they treating that water? All of that. Somebody says, hey, Bob, LTS, let's talk about Pennsylvania new license plates. They look out of state, gray, and dull. Really celebrates America 250. I haven't seen one yet. Haven't seen one. I will look for it. In any event, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, the eponymous show. We'll be back. We got a little great sponsors, a little history, a little music, and then you at 570-883-0098 to call or to text. Murph tells us this date, 1966. Simon and Garfunkel had their first #1 hit with The Sound of Silence. Bulldog, what was that version we played? What's the band Larry from Plymouth gave us? Disturbed. Well, I played it to close the show. Well, Sue Henry comes in at the end of my show and starts getting ready and her stuff in place for her program. And she said it. She really, really railed on it. She said it was awful. And musically this or that, I didn't even understand some of the things she was saying. I don't know. I said, geez, I just don't get. I don't agree with you, but we've gone back to the original, and that is a great song, Simon and Garfunkel. But so many things to get to. Some great texts. Somebody says, Bob, don't forget that the National Oceanographic and Aeronautics Administration has been manipulating past weather data to match their fake climate crisis. Yeah. And by the way, that's how you make money. That's how you make money. Somebody says, is there a law that says one can't benefit from their crimes? How are these GoFundMe accounts allowed for these, and I'm adding this, for these reprobates, these criminals are benefiting? I agree. The feds or whoever's prosecuting them should go after the money. Another, speak of following the money, Bob, on Gutfeld last night, they discussed how much money the left steals from the homeless funding. That's why Trump wants to build asylums to cut that funding that never actually gets the homeless. Bob K. Bob K., you nailed it. I think, I didn't see it last night. Cutie and I were out with the Palucci's, but, meaning Gutfeld. Vice President Vance brought it out. Like 93% of the money doesn't get to them because you hire one of these NGOs, scams. The NGO hires another NGO. Then they hire lawyers and consultants and all this, and none of the money gets to anybody. That's our federal and state government today. And by the way, if you live in Scranton, that's our city government too. Somebody says, Bob Bolus tried but failed. Instead of 2 rolls of toilet paper, he should have donated an oral enema to little Billy Gaughan. Another, Bob, I was listening to the clip of the Lackawanna County Commissioner's Bill Gaughan, and I have to wonder, where was Commissioner Chermak in response to that statement? Typical Republican rhino says nothing in support of the Republican in the White House, yet claims to be a Republican looking for support when he runs for office. Chermak is a disgrace to the Republican Party he represents, and Gaughan is simply an idiot. I want to step in and correct you there. I get your point, but I want you to remember my point. They represent Lackawanna County. You can't expect Tom Welby or Chris Chermak to answer to every left-wing lunatic pop-off that Bill Gaughan is using his commissioner's post for. It has nothing to do with their jobs. You got to be fair. And I want to ask you a question. I'm Lackawanna County Commissioner. Okay. And I was. So I understand the job a little bit. Some ass steps up and lies. He's the minority commissioner now. He doesn't matter worth spit. He's useless. So all he does, and then the newspaper covers it as though it's something, that's our horrible rags. They're unbelievably bad. Anyway, are you going to go down every rabbit hole with this Gaughan clown? Seriously. Are you going to go down every rabbit hole? Every left-wing rabbit hole? It isn't the time or the place, first of all. It's not your job, second of all. And the hope is that people get it, that Gaughan is a disgrace and doesn't give one spit about the problems of Lackawanna County, many of which he created, by the way. People wonder why McGloin left after he couldn't get out of there fast enough. Being stuck with that ass, Gahan. He couldn't get out fast enough. Now, somebody said Chermak won't say a word because he's afraid he'll lose the majority with Welby. It isn't their job. Are you going to argue with a lunatic? Seriously, I want you to think about this. Are you going to argue with a lunatic just because the newspaper is as stupid as he is? Think about it. This is clickbait. I've got to run a county, and they're actually running it. Welby and Chermak are actually running the county. Gahan is doing nothing but having Pat McKenna write speeches for him and statements. Italians have a saying, piano, piano. Take it easy. So I just think I respectfully disagree with you. I think that it isn't a county commissioner's place to argue immigration policy with a fool, by the way. I had and I still have it, a framed saying. And it said, in other words, be careful when you argue with a fool, lest bystanders are unable to tell the difference. Are you actually going to argue with this ass? Seriously. I can't disagree. It's not only his job, not his job. His job is for the people of Lackawanna County and Lackawanna County government. His job is not to argue with a complete jackass about issues where the guy's lying. He said again that the guy in Dunmore was pulled off his bike or thrown off his bike. An outright lie. He's a liar. He's a phony. He's a fool. And he's using that position to get another one. That's Bill Gahan. Let's not give him any more credit than he deserves. And let's not give him any more time on issues that he lies to the public about. The newspaper gives him time. Our foolish media, because, they've got film, they give him time. But if my job as county commissioner, it's not to give him more time to argue lies. All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll be back. Our Veterans Tribute this hour and every hour, this day and every day, brought to you dutifully, patriotically, by our friend John Basiliga and his great Basiliga Hospitality Group. 3-bar restaurants that they're beyond parallel. They really are. The Old Brook Inn, 307 Springbrook Township. The Far Street Tavern in the Great Trips Park section of West Scranton. The Queen City Tavern, downtown Oliphant. You're going to go in and say, man, this is really nice. And then you're going to enjoy the food and the drink and the service. A Terra 519. You got to go check it out. They now have a Terra After Hours on Fridays and Saturdays where the bar stays open upstairs. Absolutely fantastic. The Stegmeyer Mansion, another great bar and an amazing restaurant housed in an old world mansion downtown Wilkes-Barre. Raymond Wazalewski, Wilkes-Barre. We lost him January 4th. He died unexpectedly, but he lived a life full of honor and dedication, leaving a lasting impact on those who knew him. A proud veteran, Raymond immediately joined the United States Air Force after graduating in 1966 from Coughlin High School in Wilkes-Barre. Remember 1966. That meant Vietnam, and he signed up anyway. He served this country valiantly during the Vietnam War, embodying the values of courage and commitment. His professional career was marked by his role as a right-of-way specialist for the Transco Williams natural gas pipeline. He took great pride in his work. Raymond was known for his meticulous care of his home, an expert problem fixer. His community involvement extended into volunteering, notably with the United Way. He's survived by his loving family, 2 daughters, a son, their spouses, his 4 grandchildren who called him Barney. Raymond Wazalewski. Harold Potowski. He was 87 when we lost him December 31st. He has his great veteran's hat on in his obit picture. Born in Chickasha, he decided to serve his country and joined the National Guard, where he was enrolled for 2 years. He wasn't done serving us yet, though, because prior to his working career, he gave his heart and soul to the U.S. Navy. Hal was a proud sailor and served 4 years as a communications technician in Guam. Until his retirement, Harold worked for Air Products and Chemical in Hanover Township. He also served as chief steward of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, a position that he worked diligently and was honored to uphold. For 48 years, he was a member of the Sylvania Lodge of the Free and Accepted Masons. Preceding him in death, his first wife, Christine. Surviving him, however, his loving wife, the former Carol Brzezowski, who will love and cherish the memories of their 38 years together. Also surviving a daughter, a son, a granddaughter, and other family members. Harold Potowski. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by our man John Basiliga and Basiliga Hospitality Group. Storm Tracker 16 forecaster meteorologist Anthony Bordenero. Well, that's brought to you by what is synonymous with weather, Montage Mountain Resort, up there in Scranton. You can see it on the highway. If you get caught on 81 during the inspections, you'll have plenty of time to check it out. By the way, everything is running. Great snow conditions, all that. Today, morning showers, some sun this afternoon. It'll be milder, perfect for skiing, high near 40. Tonight, partly cloudy and breezy, low of 20. Now, Friday, partly sunny and windy with a few snow showers, 30, another great day. Saturday morning sun, then increasing clouds and much colder, high 12. Sunday, snow heavy at times, continuing into Monday, high of 14. So that's the weather brought to you by our friends at Montage Mountain. Had to wait for that. Murph says this date, 1968, Sly and the Family Stone released their first single, Dance to the Music. They sent the 45s to radio stations across the country to play them, and they played them, and it worked. Scott Besson, he's just, Trump's cabinet is just amazing. What an amazing group of talented people who are working together for the good of the country instead of their own egos. And he calls out scumbag Newsom on the world stage. Thank you. By the way, one of our great listeners is born today. It's his birthday, January 22nd. And he says he was born in Washington, D.C. during the JFK inauguration snowstorm. JFK was getting sworn in. People were swearing at the weather, and I've been getting sworn at ever since. I turned 65 today, and next week I start collecting Social Security, still surrounded by strong language and government programs. Happy birthday. Mother Teresa, January 22nd. She says, I prefer you to make mistakes in kindness than work miracles in unkindness. All right, this is one of those I have to quibble, Mary Regina. The mistakes that the people who believe and live government have been making, supposedly from compassion and kindness, have made us all worse off. So, Mother Teresa, I'll amend. I'm just going to amend or add to it, which I think she intended. She didn't intend to include government in all of this. Okay? So just a little bit of a quibble with St. Teresa today. Somebody else, by the way, on a separate issue that we discussed earlier, the new Pennsylvania license plates are crap. Nothing nice about them. Well, what do you expect from Josh Shapiro? What do you expect? Seriously. He's an incompetent who's being covered for by the media. He's a left-wing lunatic who's being painted, by the way, $3 million a year of your money for his image makers in the governor's office. $3 million a year. He's done more TikToks than laws. More TikTok videos. Yep. That's your phony, Josh Shapiro. We'll take a break and be back. By the way, arrests made in that St. Paul's church invasion. Thank you, Pam Bondi. Scumbags. By the way, my man John is on fire today. I got a bunch of stuff for after the news that I want to go through. But now, Joe from Edwardsville says, Bob, the mine water quality is too poor for almost any beneficial reuse. The pH is acidic. Has a high concentration of metals and salts and dissolved solids, and those things also promote the growth of detrimental microorganisms, bacteria and algae that ruin the cooling water systems. It would require expensive pretreatment to be used and probably red tape and permits to even be able to discharge it back to the mines. Joe, let me say this. I know a little bit about this because we proposed it for geothermal, which we were going to do in Lackawanna County. Some of the things you say about that quality of the water are true, but there was no need, by the way, for even pre-treatment. There was no need for different materials for the pipes. Nothing. A simple pump and dump system can work without a lot of red tape, without a lot of problems. So I'm respectfully disagreeing with you, having been involved with mine water usage years ago. By the way, somebody adding to what I said coming out of the break, Nakima Levy Armstrong arrested this morning on the FACE Act for the attack on St. Paul Church in Minnesota. About time Don Lemon should be next. Yup. Another, I believe it's 88 cents of every dollar wasted or laundered that's spent on the homeless. Yes, indeed. Somebody saying, I was saying that to my son. With billions upon billions spent for homelessness, 24 billion in California they can't account for, has resulted in more homelessness. We should have hundreds of facilities for the homeless. That's why we are frustrated. The money is gone. The problem persists. And I will add, just as you said, growing. They do nothing. This is the left. I told you among the planks of my platform, a crash effort to create institutions for the homeless who will not house themselves. And you got to give them drug treatment and mental health treatment at safe, secure facilities. TJ from Wilkes-Barre. How are you, TJ?
Oh, man. Honestly, one of the best after days of my life. We had a bus trip sponsored by Congressman Muser in Bresnahan, and we had a tour of the Capitol. We toured the White House, toured the Capitol.
Nice.
We actually saw Rob Bresnahan on the leadership yesterday on there. We actually saw him. And then he came up and visited all the volunteers from NEPA Republicans. Yeah. It was amazing. They treated.
He's doing an amazing job. I'll tell you, he and Dave McCormick have inserted themselves into the action so quickly, and then Muser's like, he's one of the bosses down there. He's driving he's driving the bus. It's amazing.
You know what? We have a nickname for Dan. It's MAGA Dan. But you know what? I've always been critical, and I'll tell you what. I always said that, the volunteers, they don't, these guys showed the volunteers that they appreciate their hard work, their door knocking, their phone banking, them going to, like, this was because of the Luzerne County Fair, and we had 2,000 signatures thanking Trump last year. Dan promised that he would get us down there so we could give him the thank you cards that we get to Trump. The 2 foot by 3 foot with 2,000 people signed a thank you card at the Luzerne County Fair last year we talked about. Well, this was the culmination of that. It blew my mind. He promised a tour to Capitol. Him and Rob got us a tour of the White House. I never was at it blows your mind. And you know what? It isn't just that. On the way back, it inspired all us volunteers to say, we want to do more. And that's the thing.
That's good. That's smart of them to do. but it's also well deserved. You guys are helping the country by making things happen here in Northeast Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I got an event. I'm gonna once I get everything the itinerary next month. I'm calling it "Keep the House, Save the Country."
Nice. And by the way, every word of that is true. Tej, we got to go, but thank you, man. I'm happy you went down to the Capitol. I'm happy the volunteers all went. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Yeah, we got to go because it's, again, I look at my Picardo Jewelers watch and I said, well, it's time for the news. I want to do it on time one of these days and one of these hours, and this is going to be it. So as we approach the 11 o'clock hour, we've got more to come. I want to go through a list. My man, John, sent me a bunch of stuff that I want to go through. It is eye-opening, from abortion to you name it. 11 on the dot. We'll be back after that. Great good morning, everyone. It's 11:08 a.m. on my Cordaro Jewelers watch. And here in the great Northeast, it's a beautiful Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he. And it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and with help of our man John Basiliga and his great Basiliga Hospitality Group, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like veterans we lost late last year and this, but celebrate today thanks to John. Like Harold Poteski, Schick Shinny, Raymond Wazalewski, Wilkes-Barre, Kenneth Sutton, Lehman, Frank Moran, Scranton, Jack Sharbaugh, Scranton, and Ronald Dubiak, Scranton. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order after that brief news adjournment, this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that we will provide a sanctuary of sanity for all for the balance of this hour and this morning. Somebody said, I remember signing that card for Trump at the Luzerne County Fair. And that is awesome to hear that I was working, they were working with the 4-H Club. Been there, and I remember they gave my son an American flag pin, and he's had it on his hat ever since. Joe from Trips Park, this is good. I never thought of this. Congratulations to Don Lemon for being the first black man to possibly be charged on the Ku Klux Klan Act. You wanted fame, you got it, buddy. You know it. You know it. Somebody said, you know why Democrats feel comfortable attacking a church? Because Pam Bondi's useless and hasn't arrested anyone yet. Well, she has, and there's more to come. Candace Owens, this is from our man John, sent me just a slew of things appropriate on the date and anniversary of Roe versus Wade. She said 79% of Planned Parenthood clinics are in minority neighborhoods. That is not by accident. That is by its founder, Margaret Sanger's eugenicist design. She was a disgusting, sickening racist. Here's Margaret Sanger in 1957. She said, I believe the greatest sin in the world is to bring children into the world. This is Planned Parenthood. This is this revolting organization, which Democrats are fighting. They shut the government down in part to give Planned Parenthood $500 million plus. Now, here's some side-by-side quotes. This is Margaret Sanger. She said, colored people are like human weeds and need to be exterminated. Hillary Clinton's response, I admire Margaret Sanger enormously, her courage, her tenacity, her vision. Margaret Sanger says, the most merciful thing that a large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it. Well, Barack Obama, he says, we are truly grateful to you. Thank you, Planned Parenthood. God bless you. Global deaths, January 1st to March 30th. This is in 2020. Coronavirus, and by the way, that's exaggerated, but that's the number, 35,000. Mothers during childbirth, 75,000. Seasonal flu, 118,000. Malaria, 240,000. Suicides, 260,000. Traffic accident, 330,000. HIV and AIDS, 411,000. Alcohol, 600,000. Smoking, 1,223,000. Cancer, 2 million. Communicable disease, 3 million. Abortions, 10,402,251. Global deaths, 2020. In 1969, Planned Parenthood produced a memo recommending strategies for population control. These included restructuring the family, encouragement of increased homosexuality, tax-funded abortion, fertility control agents in the water supply, and sterilization. They then went on and implemented all of these. This is your Planned Parenthood. These are your abortionists. You could be pro-choice. This is pro-death. Abortion statistics, the number I've been quoting, I rounded up to 64 million. 63,459,781 abortions. Stunning. Stunning. Now, this is from Barron Trump. He says, Democrats in D.C. are panicking after President Donald Trump demanded passage of his health care plan that ripped billions away from big insurance companies and their corrupt middlemen. Obamacare made insurance companies and brokers filthy rich. Trump is flipping the table and sending the money where it belongs, directly to the people, and the media can't spin their way out of this one. FDA Commissioner Marty McCary laid it out clearly. Insurance companies will have to show prices and coverage in plain English. This plan ends secret kickbacks to the people selling insurance. And they're scared witless of it. This is another one. John was on fire yesterday and today. This is from the National Policy Forum. Now, I've read this. And I don't want to pretend it's true or that I know it's true. I've read it over and over and over again. But the National Policy Forum, quoting Stephen Miller, who's usually, in fact, infallibly right on the mark. And so if this is a quote from him, then there's something to look at. It says, I wish this were just a joke, but it's not. Stephen Miller is now publicly demanding that Barack Obama return $120 million that he allegedly earned through ownership related to Obamacare. Miller says he allocated money under his own laws using taxpayer-generated prestige, calling it an abuse of public office and blatant influence. Obama has 3 days to respond before Stephen Miller says the matter will be referred to the Department of Justice for formal review. There's nothing legal. I've heard about this, that there was some sort of a royalty kicker to the Obamas through Obamacare. I'm just throwing it out there because I heard it so many times that it's worth it. Another thing John sent in. Notice a trend? Trump wins in 2016 and the Dems riot. Trump leading in 2020, the Dems riot. Elon Musk uncovers government fraud and the Democrats riot. Nick Shirley uncovers Somali fraud and the Democrats riot. Trump administration and ICE deport illegals and Dems riot. The party of violence. Undeniably. And then this. Liberalism. It's a religion of self-hatred. It teaches white people to hate their race, boys to hate their sex, women to hate their femininity, Americans to hate their country, Westerners to hate their history. What a loathsome, poisonous thing it is. I'll adopt that to leftism. Now, this one, I want you to remember the number. Former HUD Assistant Secretary Catherine Austin Fitts, this is posted by Gentry Geevers on X, claims the Washington Uniparty has misappropriated approximately $55 trillion in taxpayer money since 2008. And by the way, can anyone argue with that? (2015), the passage of Obamacare. Here's what happened quietly on January 1st, 2015. Medicare tax went from 1.45% to 2.35%. Top income tax bracket went from 35% to 39.6%. Top income payroll tax went from 37.4% to 52.2%. Capital gains tax went from 15% to 28%. Dividend tax went from 15% to 39.6%. Estate tax went from 0% to 55%. A 3.5% real estate transaction tax was added. Remember these facts. These taxes were all passed solely with Democrat votes. Not a single Republican voted for these new taxes. These taxes were all passed within the Affordable Care Act, a.k.a. Obamacare. Remember that? We have to pass it before we can read it, said Nancy Pelosi. She says, if you think it is important that everyone in the U.S. should know this, there are many millions who don't. Pass it on. This is like the first Tea Party. This is a weaponized IRS. The first Tea Party protest was held February of 2009 in response to the bailout programs and Obamacare being forced through Congress. Shortly after, the Supreme Court announced Citizens United, ruling which would extend free speech protection to political groups. In response, the Obama administration began to disrupt this grassroots activism by using the IRS to pull tax-exempt applications for organizations related to the Tea Party movement. We know this to be true. IRS officials took the Fifth Amendment in front of Congress. Email correspondence shows that Tea Party organizations and other conservative organizations were repeatedly flagged by the IRS and added to a bold be on the lookout list. In the process of Congressional House Oversight Committee's investigation, all data and backups were destroyed. The committee voted to censure IRS Commissioner John Kosikin in April 2017. The congressional inquiry into this matter expanded significantly, with Obama officials being called to testify in federal court. Just things to be aware of. Another, Obama shut the government down for 17 days in 2013 to force Obamacare. Just a friendly reminder. And I want to remind you again, the Democrats shut the government down this past fall for billions of dollars, $400 billion plus of subsidies to insurance companies to try to pretend Obamacare has not failed. And somebody says, and I get it, no one's ever charged or arrested in all of this, so most people are sick of hearing about it. Well, we're going to keep doing it here. We never tire. We'll be back. Barack Obama, 2009, he signed an executive order to close Guantanamo within a year. Oh, how'd that work out, Barack? About as good as your presidency. And by the way, the only reason that Obama looks okay as president is because the worst president in history succeeded him, Joe Biden. The guy he didn't want to be president for obvious reasons. And then Manfred Mann. You didn't want to keep playing that song, Bulldog? You weren't happy with it? But he made a huge comeback 1977 as Manfred Mann's Rare Earth Band, moving from number 19 to 9 with their hit Blinded by the Light. And it was a different sound, a different song. I liked it. Bob Cordaro back with you on the eponymous program. I want my man John is on fire. Just amazing stuff. I'm one that I have to get to because it's a cornerstone of the show. It says democracy. In a democracy, the majority rules. If the majority decided they wanted your bike, they could take it. In a republic, which is what we are, your bike is your property and you do not owe it to anyone. It cannot be taken against your will by law. America is a constitutional republic. Therefore, the Constitution is the law by which we are supposed to be protected. In a republic, the individual is protected from the majority by constitutional law. A constitutional republic is what we were given. It is up to us to keep it. Yeah. Quite amazing. I'm fascinated with this. By the way, on the Guantanamo Bay, New York Times is reporting, this is also from John, the Pentagon is building a second courtroom for war crime trials at Guantanamo Bay that will exclude the public from the chamber. The plan is to allow 2 military judges to hold proceedings simultaneously starting in 2023. What came of that, I do not know. So you can't get rid of it? Expand it. And do your quiet. Yeah, Gitmo has grown tremendously since then. You could go on Google Watch and see the map and see how it grew. Another, Bob, don't forget how Obama started labeling everyone. I know. Because, see, Obama was arrogant, truly arrogant. He was I was thinking about this the other day. I don't even know why it came to my mind. Obama, because you got to do it in the most broad terms, was qualified to be president by intellect. But by experience, he was not, which is one of the reasons his presidency was a failed presidency. That his signature work, Obamacare, has failed miserably and failed the American people miserably. Then you go to Joe Biden and you say, oh my, and Kamala Harris, and you say, these people should be nowhere near the Oval Office. They've done nothing in their lives except aggrandize their own lives. Somebody texted in, Bob, as I listen to all this fraud, waste, and abuse, it's clear to me that we are simply overtaxed. Basically, if there was less to go around, there would be less opportunity for these type of situations to occur. And by the way, that's not even the outright fraud. The money that the NGO gets, I want you to remember what Jennifer Granholm did at the Department of Energy. I remind you of this all the time. After Kamala was defeated, but before Trump was inaugurated, she sent $93 billion. $93 billion out the door to nonprofits and NGOs friendly to the Democrat Party and the establishment. It's unreal. It's unreal. Somebody says, yeah, nuking the filibuster would finally make us the democracy that we are not. No. We have an absolutely horrible Democrat Party. They're sick. They're mentally ill. They really are. And those senators, Democrat senators, are going to blow up the filibuster and pass everything they want if they get in power. Now, if the Republicans do it now and become effective legislatively with normal priorities, it's their only chance to hold the Senate and the House. So it's going to happen under Democrats, guaranteed, unless they get rid of it now. And it's only, I don't want to say only, it was important. It serves a purpose. But right now, today's Democrat Party, they've got to get rid of it. Period. By the way, somebody texted in regarding my Margaret Sanger screed. They said, Bob, I'm not for abortion, but you can't come off saying a lot of things you're saying without any proof. These are, by the way, these are quotes from Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood. Somebody said, I sincerely doubt there's been any proof given that there was sterilization products in the water, for example. I'll take that example. I didn't say it happened, but it was part of the 1969 proposal and plan by Planned Parenthood. Check it out. And that's all I said. I didn't say they did it. Planned Parenthood was founded in evil by an evil, disgusting person. By the way, who Obama and Hillary admire. Number one. Number two, they sold body parts and got caught. They're the largest abortion mill in the world. They're a disgusting, sickening organization. Yep. Chuck from Carbondale. Bob, remember Obama called us all bitter clingers with our Bibles and guns. I know. I'm not trying to argue, Bob. I was just saying it. You said it was implemented. No. That's what the statement said. I didn't say that. Just be clear. You got to listen closely. And that triggered my response. I apologize if I misunderstood you, and that's okay. Because you gave me a chance to clarify. I'm not angry about it or whatever. I want you to know Planned Parenthood is founded in evil and continues to be evil. We'll be back. Our Veterans Tribute this hour and every hour, this day and every day. Brought to you by our man, John Basiliga, and his great companies, including today as we head to the weekend, the great Basiliga Hospitality Group. Two of the best fine dining restaurants you will ever find. A Terra 519, downtown Scranton. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Love it. I guess if I say I had a hangout under my house, that would be it. Then, for an old world take on fine dining, the Stegmeyer Mansion, downtown Wilkes-Barre. To say it is awesome is one of the understatements of all time. 3 great bar restaurants, Queen City Tavern, downtown Oliphant, Far Street Tavern in West Scranton, the Old Brook Inn, 307, Springbrook Township. And you know what'll be hopping tonight? Sergei's, the nightclub in Northeast Pennsylvania. And oddly enough, for all ages. I love the place. But with a Terra 519 having after hours, I'm there too. Scranton Art House. The best place to watch a movie, period. Frank Moran, he was from Scranton. He was 87. We lost him on New Year's Day this year. He's survived by his wife of 60 years, Patricia Kersavage Moran. Frank Moran was born in Scranton. He was an Air Force veteran, earning the Air Force Longevity Service Award, Good Conduct Medal, bronze clasp with 2 loops. And he's depicted in his Air Force uniform in his obituary. Throughout the years, Frank took pride in honest work and providing for his family. Could you be any better than that? No. He spent much of his life employed in various factory and industrial positions. He's survived by his wife, Patricia, son, Frank, daughter, Lisa, grandchildren, 7 of them, and a great-granddaughter, Eva. Frank Moran. Jack Sharbaugh. He was 77 when we lost him January 6th. He worked for the Pennsylvania Department of Public Welfare. He was from the White Bear section of Summit Hill. Celebrated his 54th wedding anniversary, August 7th, with Betsy Hodak Sharbaugh. Born in Berwick, 1966 graduate of Nescapec High School, and a 1970 graduate of Bloomsburg University, where he majored in psychology. While serving in the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War, Jack was a medic in the Valley Forge Military Hospital. He was later part of the 7th Medical Brigade in Germany. He was employed for 35 years with the Pennsylvania Department of Public Welfare, last serving as executive director for Lehigh County. Avid hunter and fisherman, but he had countless other hobbies, including wood carving. How about this? Stained glass creation, locksmithing, and target shooting. In addition to his wife, Jack is survived by his son, Nathan, his daughter, Natalie, and other family members. Jack Wesley Sharbaugh. Our great veterans this hour brought to you by our man, John Basiliga, and the great Basiliga Hospitality Group. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Anthony Bordenero. Well, it's brought to you by our guys up at Montage Mountain. Montage Mountain Resort, it is hopping, and it's a perfect day to get up there. The high will be near 40 after morning snow showers. It'll be sunny and milder this afternoon. Get up there, hit the slopes. Tonight, partly cloudy and breezy, low 20. Friday, partly sunny and windy with a few snow showers, high 30. Well, we go into a January chill on Saturday. Morning sun, then increasing clouds and much colder, high 12. Sunday, snow heavy at times, continuing into Monday, high 14. Brought to you by Montage Mountain. The Bulldog reminds me. How could I forget Montage Mountain? Montage Mountain means weather, and the weather means Montage Mountain. Huey Lewis. He in the news. This day, 1982, Murph says, released their breakthrough hit with Do You Believe in Love? That's a good song. I think of Huey Lewis and I just smile immediately. Huey. He was a fun guy. That was a fun band. Hey, let's go to Laureen in Lackawanna County. Laureen, how are you?
Hi, Bob. How you doing?
Great.
So I'm calling because of the headline for Gahan seeks clearer guidance on the ICE officials, and he's making the craziest assumption that these ICE agents are just going out and kidnapping people, which is
well, he's mentally ill. He's mentally ill. We've seen it at the No Kings protest. No Kings protest in his sign in his yard. We've seen it in his running mate, Matt McGloin, getting out of the insanity that this clown was dragging him into.
Well, Commissioner Chermak is agreeing with him, apparently, because he doesn't have an opinion on it. Well, here's the opinion. You were a commissioner. I was a commissioner. And I had gone to the June meeting for the prison board and had everybody there, the judiciary, the sheriff, the commissioners, and the DA. And the DA said if anybody goes after our ICE agent, he would protect them. And nobody is to go after our federal law enforcement officers.
Who's that?
Who
said
illegal.
that? I apologize.
Brian Gallagher, the district attorney.
Oh, yeah,
and it's
good,
on record.
Good.
Go watch it on the June meeting.
He's the man.
The prison board meeting.
Brian Gallagher's a great DA.
And the sheriff said he agreed with him 100%.
Good.
And Gahan said he doesn't speak about those issues. That was his answer. And Chris Chermak said nothing. So Chris Chermak needs to stop being a middle of the road guy and start standing up for what Republican people actually stand for. And before I know you want to say something, but please let me finish because I'm furious over this. I knew that they were going to do this. We have always helped out with ICE, and we've always alerted them to and cooperated with them if there was an illegal immigrant in our prison.
Yep.
We get paid by federal office. We get paid by the federal government to hold federal prisoners. So they are going to lose that contract if they keep talking like this, unless they already gave it up because they don't want it. Now, that could be. I don't know because of COVID. However, I will check.
Yeah, the ICE detainees were a big part of our income at the prison. It was important to get them. That's what I'm saying. He's a stupid, ignorant idiot. I can't describe. There's very few lower forms of life in politics than Bill Gahan.
Well, if the people of Lackawanna County want to see the same thing that happened in Minneapolis happen here, then don't cooperate with them. Let Bill Gahan get his way, because it's the only reason that is happening in the streets of any city is because the city is not cooperating with ICE, and they let these prisoners out into the public where they're murdering people and harming people. I mean, New York City, they had somebody burn up in a subway, for crying out loud.
Yep.
This is outrageous. And the paper needs to print the facts and not this garbage that's being spewed by this commissioner.
So they
and
gave this idiot a headline, not only that he doesn't deserve, but that the subject doesn't deserve, and they reprinted his lies.
I agree 1,000%. I was shocked to see it, and I was also shocked to see that Lackawanna County Commissioners Tom Welby on the left and Chris Chermak look on during the commissioners' meeting, and they both support what Gahan is requesting. How dare they? If they want to see chaos in our county,
Are you saying they supported it, or just
Yes.
didn't comment? Because you may
they're
have heard me
saying-
earlier. I said, first of all, Gahan is proving that he doesn't care about anybody in Lackawanna County. He cares about
Absolutely.
his sick, twisted agenda. But
Absolutely.
you argue. I said also, I had the sign in my office: never argue with a fool, lest a passerby not see the difference. And I just don't. It isn't county business what he's trying to promote and talk about.
He's harming the citizens of Lackawanna County if that's what he supports. And it says in here, Walker said he would conduct the review, something Democratic Commissioner Tom Welby and Republican Commissioner Chris Chermak said they support, which is outrageous. Here's the policy.
Well, first of all, it's in the
We've always
newspaper.
cooperated
It's
with
in the
ICE.
newspaper, so I don't know if that doesn't mean it's true. Just so you know.
I agree with that statement, Bob. Trust me, I know.
Maybe
I've been
Chris will
the
call in
subject
and
of that.
defend himself. I'd like to hear from him, because I said for two reasons. Number one, it isn't Lackawanna County business immigration. It just isn't. And the second part is, do you really want to argue and give more time to this jackass Gahan?
Apparently they do, because they give him top billing, which is ridiculous.
Well, that's the newspaper. I'm talking about if I'm a commissioner. I would just ignore him. He's got the right to speak for now. Let him spout his lies and his idiocy, and then just ignore it and move on. I thought that was my impression of what they did.
Yeah, I did. When I saw that as top billing, I was very upset. And when I read the article and read the commentary made by Commissioner Shermack, that's when I called you, because I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done with this nonsense. They need to stop, and this is ridiculous at this point. And people need to know the facts. If I have to go out and go door to door to tell people what's the truth, I will, because this paper is garbage.
Oh, it's absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. Well, maybe Chris will call in and clarify where he stands on this.
Oh, he absolutely needs to.
Yeah.
He absolutely needs to, because he was wishy-washy in the whole entire article. So is that his factual statements, or are they lying? That's what I'd like to know.
Okay. All right. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
it,
much.
Lorene. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Bye-bye.
Well, we're heading into the top of the hour. We're heading into 11:50, because, again, I'm very loyal to my Bacardo Jewelers watch. I really am. It's a great watch. It was not that expensive. I'm just not a, I don't know, I guess you would say a watch person. But I love my Bacardo Jewelers watch. And it's telling me we're approaching 11:50, which means Bloomberg Money Minute and all of that. We do want to explore what the response is or should be from fellow commissioners to an insane person, Bill Gahan. We're finishing with Creed. Murph tells us on this date, 2000, they moved into the top 10 charts with their hit Arms Wide Open. And I said, hey, we can finish with this. So our man Rob O'Donnell, our afternoon guy, sent me this. The Democrats, okay? They posted this on X. It said in Minneapolis, ICE arrested a 5-year-old coming home from preschool and tried to use him as human bait. His teacher describes him as a bright young student. These monsters are sick. Talking about ICE. This is the Democrats in Minnesota. Rob O'Donnell points out, just like Silly Billy, they lie. I used silly. ICE did not target a child. The child was abandoned. These are the lies that are going to come out of these I'm sorry, I almost said it. On January 20th, ICE conducted a targeted operation to arrest Adrian Alexander Conejo Arias, an illegal alien from Ecuador who was released into the U.S. by the Biden administration. As agents approached the driver, he fled on foot, abandoning the child. For the child's safety, one of our ICE officers remained with him until and while the other officers apprehended Conejo Arias. So there's another lie you're going to hear from the Democrats, from the sick, twisted minds of the anti-ICE, anti-law enforcement forces. Please remember that the Gawhens of this world, the Paige Cognettis, the Jessica Rothschilds, will be quoting this story, this lie. It's coming. I guarantee you. Sad and sick. That's who we're up against. Somebody texted in Saul Alinsky's book, Rules for Radicals, dedicated to Lucifer. Say no more. By the way, how about the growth in the economy under Donald Trump and his policies? Pretty damn good, ain't it? We're headed in the right direction, I promise you. By the way, Lackawanna County, which for some reason is last in the planet on gas prices, consistent under $3 gas. Thank you, President Trump. Thank you for the rule of common sense. Amen. Well, the Sue Henry Show is next. The Rob O'Donnell Show after that. For now, though, I got to go. God willing, I'll be with you tomorrow morning at 9, and we'll do this again. We'll stay on the attack. We'll fight for this country. We'll fight for what's right. Have a great afternoon, guys. Club for Common Sense adjourned, just as my Picardo's watch says, noon.